The Senate elections are just as important as the presidential elections. Today, we are going to review with you the shocking results of the newest polls in a short and concise way. By the end of this video, you will understand everything very clearly. Let's get started. The 2024 Senate race is a high-stakes battle, with Democrats defending 23 of 34 seats. Republicans need just 2 flips to take control, targeting key Democratic seats in Trump-won states like West Virginia, Montana, and Ohio. Can Democrats hold the line, or will the GOP secure the majority? Let's take a look at the states up for grabs and the newest polling data to see how the races are shaping up. Let's start on the West Coast with the safe Democratic states. First up, Washington. 4-term Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell is running for re-election. Cantwell was most recently re-elected in 2018 with 58% of the vote. The deep blue state hasn't sent a Republican to the Senate since 1994 and supported Biden by a 19-point margin in 2020. Cantwell should be comfortable here. Next, in California, the Senate seat has seen a significant shakeup. Longtime Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein sadly passed away last October, and Governor Gavin Newsom appointed LaFonza Butler to fill her seat. Butler, however, opted not to run for a full term, as 3 prominent Democratic U.S. representatives, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee, had already joined the race. Ultimately, Adam Schiff emerged as the top candidate in the open primary, advancing to face Republican Steve Garvey, a former LA Dodger. Schiff is heavily favored in this Biden plus 29 state, and he leads by at least 20 points in the early polls. Moving over to Hawaii, Democratic incumbent Mazie Hirono is running for a 3rd term. Hirono was re-elected in 2018 with a commanding 71% of the vote, the highest for any Senate candidate in that cycle. No surprises are expected here, as Hawaii remains solidly blue. In New Mexico, 2-term Democrat Martin Heinrich is seeking a 3rd term. Heinrich was re-elected in 2018 with 54% of the vote, and Biden won New Mexico by 11 points in 2020. Polls show Heinrich with a steady 10-point lead, so New Mexico is another solid hold for the Democrats. Next, Minnesota. Amy Klobuchar is running for a 4th term, having secured 60% of the vote in 2018. While Minnesota remains a swing state in presidential years, Kamala Harris currently leads Trump by a slim margin. Klobuchar's popularity should keep her Senate seat safely in Democratic hands. In Virginia, 2-term incumbent Tim Kaine is running for re-election. Kaine, who served as Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016, was re-elected comfortably in 2018 with 57% of the vote. Polling averages show Kaine leading by over 10 points, so this one should remain blue. Now let's look at some more Democratic safe holds in the Northeast. In New York, Kirsten Gillibrand is running for her 3rd full term. Gillibrand won re-election in 2018 with 67% of the vote. And despite the broader rightward trend in New York, she remains well-positioned against her Republican challenger, NYPD detective Mike Sapercone. This state, which Biden won by 23 points, is expected to stay blue. Over in Vermont and Massachusetts, we have Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, respectively, both running for re-election. Vermont and Massachusetts were the 2 bluest states in 2020, and both Sanders and Warren are projected to win easily. In Rhode Island and Connecticut, 3-term incumbents Sheldon Whitehouse and Chris Murphy are also expected to retain their seats comfortably, having won by double-digit margins in 2018. In Maine, independent Angus King, who caucuses with the Democrats, is running for his 3rd term. King is popular, and Maine remains a quasi-hold for the Democrats. In New Jersey, Bob Menendez's recent legal troubles have prompted Congressman Andy Kim to step in as the Democratic nominee. New Jersey voted for Biden by 16 points, and Kim's solid reputation makes him the heavy favorite here. Finally, in Delaware, Senator Tom Carper is retiring, and Lisa Blunt Rochester, Delaware's lone U.S. representative, is poised to succeed him. With no serious Republican challenger, this should be a straightforward win for Democrats in Biden's home state. These 14 states lift the Democratic tally to 42 seats, just 8 short of maintaining their majority. However, with Kamala Harris on the ballot and a tight presidential race, the outcome of the Senate battle could hinge on just a few key states. Now let's flip over to the Republicans and start adding their safe seats. First up, Utah. Congressman John Curtis will succeed Mitt Romney, who chose not to run after voting to impeach Trump twice. Utah has been reliably red for decades, so there's little question about the outcome here. In Wyoming and Nebraska, John Barrasso and Deb Fischer are both running for re-election. Although Fischer's race recently showed some unexpected polling tightness due to independent challenger Dan Osborne, it's unlikely that Fischer will be unseated in such a solidly Republican state. In North Dakota and Missouri, incumbents Kevin Cramer and Josh Hawley are seeking second terms, both after flipping their states red in 2018, with both states comfortably supporting Trump. These races are expected to remain Republican. In Mississippi, Tennessee, and Indiana, Republicans Roger Wicker, Marsha Blackburn, and Jim Banks are all well-positioned for easy victories. The same holds true for deep red West Virginia, where Democratic incumbent Joe Manchin's retirement has paved the way for Republican Governor Jim Justice to run. The remaining seats are where the real action is. Let's start with the races that lean toward one party, but aren't completely secure. On the Democratic side, Maryland is an interesting case. While it's one of the bluest states, Ben Cardin's retirement and former Republican Governor Larry Hogan's popularity have introduced a measure of uncertainty. Even so, Angela Alsobrooks is leading Hogan by nearly 8 points in polling, making Maryland likely to stay blue. Another likely blue hold is Nevada. Incumbent Democrat Jackie Rosen has been polling well ahead of her Republican challenger, Sam Brown, with a lead of around 8 points. Nevada may be trending right, but Rosen's advantage seems solid for now. On the Republican side, Florida and Texas have become more competitive than expected. Incumbent Republican Rick Scott is now in a tight race with former Congresswoman Debbie Maukersell Powell, and polls show Scott's lead shrinking to just over 4 points. In Texas, Ted Cruz faces a closer than expected challenge from Colin Allred, with Cruz up by only 5 points. This brings us to the final 6 races: Montana, Ohio, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. These are the true battlegrounds, and control of the Senate will likely hinge on these states. In Arizona, independent incumbent Kyrsten Sinema chose not to run for another term, setting up a face-off between Democrat Ruben Gallego and Republican Kari Lake. Gallego has a lead of nearly 6 points, and while Arizona is a swing state, Democrats have seen recent success there. In Wisconsin, Democratic incumbent Tammy Baldwin is running for a third term, and polls have her leading by about 3.6 points. Wisconsin is competitive in presidential years, but Baldwin's popularity could make the difference here. In Michigan, with Debbie Stabenow retiring, Democrat Alyssa Slotkin faces off against Republican Mike Rogers. Slotkin is currently ahead in the polls, and Michigan's recent electoral history favors Democrats, giving her the edge. In Pennsylvania, powerhouse Democrat Bob Casey Jr. is expected to hold on, given his strong track record and polling lead over David McCormick. Ohio and Montana, however, remain the biggest challenges for Democrats. Sherrod Brown in Ohio and John Tester in Montana both need to outperform the top of the ticket by significant margins to retain their seats, with Brown polling narrowly ahead, but with a history of polling inaccuracies in Ohio, and Tester trailing slightly in Montana. These two states could be pivotal, with Republicans projected to end with 52 seats and Democrats at 48. This battle for Senate control is razor thin. The outcome will depend heavily on voter turnout, late campaign momentum, and the presidential race. Democrats must perform exceptionally well in every toss-up state to keep their hopes alive, while Republicans are well positioned but cannot afford any missteps. As always, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the 2024 Senate map. Drop a comment below with your predictions or questions. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on the latest Senate analysis. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.